Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check that out. Subscribe as well.
We are sponsored by our friends, Tito's Handmade Vodka, John.
Number one, as they say in the business, spirit, vodka in America. Go make you're watching this before Monday Night Football. We still got about an hour and a half as we're recording this. Make yourself a Tito's and soda.
Yeah, send us your photos too. Send us photos. All right, here's a piece of news for you. This was a few hours ago. Kyle Shanahan announced that Raheem Mostert has chipped cartilage in his knee and is headed to IR. Should be about 8 weeks. That's the second chip for the 49ers in a few weeks. We had the chipped finger. Now we got chipped cartilage in the knee. Raheem Mostert.
I think there's two ways to look at this guy. On the most basic level, is injured guys get hurt a lot. And Jason Verrett is injured his whole career, tore his ACL on Sunday. Raheem Mostert has turned in, when he's on the field, he is a fantastic NFL running back. He had 2 carries in that game for 20 yards. Not a math major, but that's 10 yards a carry. And he is a dynamic.
That's not the first time he's done that.
No, and with Kyle calling the plays, he's on the short list of players that if you got the right guy scheming the run, that you would want to get on the edges, right? Because of his just play speed is high end. But were you that surprised where a couple series in, you're like, where's 31? Guy, I had him on my DraftKings team. Oof. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, where is the guy? Because I thought he was going to go nuts. 2 carries, 20 yards. I'm thinking $150 and a couple tugs. And then all of a sudden, maybe you forwarded me the tweet or someone, he's questionable to return. The cameras go to him on the sideline. He's trying to walk it off. It's like, oh, here we go again. And the way that I would describe my feelings moving forward, I don't expect Raheem Mostert, like anything he gives the rest of the season is gravy. Like he's just, I know, for example, Verrett, we know is gone for the year. They said 8 weeks for this guy. I think he's at the point now where he's not a dependable player anymore. Like we have the evidence. Whatever you get out of him is extra. You go all in, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, no more not dressing out now. You're up. Just the guys you have is what you got to roll with.
Yeah. Look, they took a risk. The decisions they made as it related to Raheem Mostert, as it related to Jason Verrett, as it related to the rest of their secondary when they put a lot of eggs in their basket of Jason Verrett, those are decisions. Choosing not to replace a player, I understand why you bet on Jason Verrett. I understand why you bet on Raheem Mostert. The good news is that with Kyle Shanahan, he can work with a number of different running backs. Now, as you and I talked about in the last podcast on Sunday, Mostert is, even among the really good running backs that Kyle Shanahan has, when healthy, Mostert is his number one guy.
By far.
He is number one.
Yeah.
Yep, he's number one. But he doesn't play a full season. This doesn't happen. Jason Verrett has never played a full season. So, again, I hate to say that one too. I'll tell you, here's another one. And I don't want to upset anybody. But when Nick Bosa plays 17 games, I will be relieved. Or 16 games, right? When he plays the full season. Because it hasn't happened 2 out of his last 3 years. He's not played a full season if you go back to Ohio State. So we just know they're walking a tightrope here with a few guys. Now, is that what Bosa's career is going to be when you look back on it like Jason Verrett? I hope not. We don't have the evidence yet that tells us that's where it's headed. But when guys have been hurt, you watch them. I do, and I hold my breath. I hope they don't get hurt again. And with Mostert, he's hurt again, and it's 8 weeks. And, it's not the least of their problems because he's a really good player, but they actually have bigger problems.
Yeah, I mean, looking at 2019 when they made their Super Bowl run, from week 12 to week 17. So, I mean, those big games, right? Packers, Ravens, Saints, Falcons, Rams, Seahawks. He accounted for 7 touchdowns. 7. Now, it's a little skewed because he had a historic NFC Championship game. But in the 2 playoff games against the Vikings and the Packers, he had 5 touchdowns. So, from a stretch of basically 11-25, so the end of November through the middle of January, the guy had 12 touchdowns. And he's an impactful player, right? Like part of them being a great team, and when they really kicked it into gear when it mattered, he was fantastic for them. Like, he's a pretty big loss. I know running backs, in theory are really replaceable, and it looks like Elijah Mitchell's good. And Trey Sermon coming from Ohio State, like he should just be able to plug and play and just be productive. I do think what this guy brought to the table, speed back, but a power back, he would run through guys. Like there's a reason that they kind of held on for hope this year,
Yeah.
right? With this guy. Like he
Yeah.
is, like you said, when they're all healthy and all lining up, he is clearly the guy that you would want against the Chiefs, the Packers, the Steelers, the fucking whoever you're playing. It would be him first. Now, maybe these other guys can become that, but it's like Verrett. Listen, and that hurts, but this to me is just because I think you just go, I don't know, man. Because he comes back week 10. He might get hurt again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Verrett one, that one concerns me more, given that position, that their positional depth at corner. But you're right. If your goal is to play in big games, one thing Raheem Mostert has been is a PT peer. In other words, primetime player, baby. But like you said, when you, over the course of 17 games in a postseason, and your coaches matter, and in your biggest games, your coaches matter. But sometimes somebody just has to be the best player on the field. And because of his speed, he has the physical ability to be one of the best players on the field in a playoff game against a number 2 seed, in a Super Bowl against a number 1 seed. He has that. He has those, as you like to say, the scouts, the traits. He just has the traits, and they translate. Kyle Shanahan, there are a lot of different guys that can do the things he wants to do, or at least he can get pieces of a guy and piece it together. But this guy can do all the things that he wants.
Well, he's playing for arguably the best run game schemer. So when you put the physical attributes with an elite run game schemer, and now with a really good run blocking offense, it's a pretty devastating blow. But on the bright side, against the Lions, who I think when the dust settles will have a bottom 5 defense in the league, Elijah Mitchell, if you just look at him like a draft prospect, not as like playing a top 5 NFL team, you just go, what he just did should translate, right? Runs hard, hits the hole, gets downhill, doesn't waste. He's not dancing around. Like he has some characteristics that remind me of Raheem Mostert, right? He just goes, just gets downhill. Now, he doesn't have the high end speed. No one does. Because I'd say Raheem Mostert's play speed, it feels like he plays like 4.3, doesn't he? Once he gets into the open field, like once he strides it, like a guy's hauling ass. It almost felt like with him, now maybe the Niners passing game will be better in theory if Brandon Aiyuk and Kyle can ever make up. He was almost like, I don't know, like a deep ball hitter, but he was a running back, right? He'd give him like 30, 40-yard runs, like what receivers did. That's where when they made the Super Bowl run, their run game was explosive. Like they were busting off like 30, 40-yard runs. Now, ideally, maybe they don't have to do that as much. Again, Brandon Aiyuk, Kyle, we need some rehab on that relationship here these couple days. And maybe you can be more explosive in the passing game.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still, we know what the basics are here. I put it up earlier. The book is out on Mostert. Says Mr. Big Twain 49er. He's not durable enough to get significant carries. Yeah, I mean, the crazy part is we didn't even get to the significant carry portion of the season.
Well, remember when his agent, after they made the Super Bowl, demanded a brand new contract for running back? Maybe they just knew. Like, maybe he's like, bro, I don't know, man. My body can fall apart at any moment. Get me that money.
Yeah.
And the Niners gave him like extra guaranteed, I think like $1 million.
It's not what Jason Verrett did, unfortunately. Injury prone, yes. I mean, it's safe to say. Now, D Ford was productive for them. Maybe there's a world where he comes back and you are able to use him at the back end of the season. The key, there's just so many things going on. The games that are going to get played when he comes back have to be worthwhile. Like you've got to be competing for the playoffs and in the playoffs, and then maybe you can get him back and he can help you. His season's not done. He has been injury prone, but he has played enough also that he's made impacts for them. So I'm not just out on Raheem Mostert. I'm moving on with my life, right? Like he might come back, and if he can still help you, but you can't count on that.
Well, I'm sure we'll dive into the Eagles game. I haven't watched it yet, but for the podcast, for Tuesday from Wednesday's podcast, moving forward, Eagles, Packers, Seattle, you need your blue chip guys. Like you're going to get in some games. Like I mean, the Lions scored some touchdowns, but I mean, score some touchdowns when it's actually a game.
Yeah,
and the more high end players you have, the better equipped you are. That's why, it doesn't feel as bad because these were injury prone players, but this is a little deja vu-y Game one, you lose 2
I don't think
starters
it's deja
immediately.
vu.
It's just what keeps happening.
It's just deja vu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, game one, 2 starters gone like that. Corner, running back, see ya. I mean, pretty, I guess Verrett happened in the
no
mid-fourth
Kinlaw
quarter.
to begin with.
Yeah, no Kinlaw. Someone said they did see him on the sideline. I didn't notice that, but.
Well, great.
Yeah.
You say he was at home. He was on the sideline. I don't know where he was, but I know where he wasn't.
Yeah. The Lions guard didn't see him. So.
No, he never met. Penei Sewell might have shook his hand post game.
Maybe.
But Jared Goff never met him.
No.
He didn't meet Jared Goff. He didn't introduce himself.
No.
I worked through that joke. Introduce himself to Jared Goff. But, and they're going to need – here's the other thing. Is this the only running back injury they sustain all year? Is this the only running back absence they have all year? Is this the only,
Well, they had some – did you know – I mean, D Ford injured his ankle, Kyle said today. Now, he said he'll play this week.
back, yep.
But Greenlaw also should play this week. I mean, there's a natural – I bet every team in the league, if you locked in on whatever their coach said today, they all listed 5 to 10 players, right? I mean, the Jets lost like 7. Seriously, it's football. It is just a little more glaring when you're the Niners. You're like, well, then we lose a couple more. Then all of a sudden, are we down 8 starters like week 5?
That's what I say. Again, part of it, like Mostert, it was 2 carries. He should have been fresh. Year just started. But Kyle's running back, some of just Kyle's guys on offense get hurt. And I do think part of it, they all have a certain style, and that's run as hard as you can.
Yeah. Guy had 2 carries and he got hurt.
I know. So that was not what happened with him. But Elijah Mitchell has never played in the NFL, let alone a 17-game season.
Guy, he didn't play in the Power 5. I mean,
right? So is he just going to – I hope – I mean, maybe he will. Maybe it won't be an issue. I hope he just makes it through the season. Trey Sermon got hurt the last game he played in college. Now, pretty durable player for the most part. Hope he just makes it through the season. But that's part of this is Niner running backs. It's you run a lot and you run hard, and it's just asking a lot to go, okay, everybody, no more injuries at the running back position. Because, as you like to say, last I checked, there's still 16 games to play. This one was now maybe the 16th, maybe the freebie is at the end of the year, or maybe, I don't know, because they didn't get any more money. So the 17th game, I call it the freebie, John. So that one the owners just get. That one's for them.
The Niners are just asked to play the Titans. I watched them try to tackle Kyler Murray. They basically played 2-hand touch, so maybe it'd be a little softer on the bodies. They played 2-hand touch with Kyler, and they still couldn't touch him. So, the Niners don't feel 2-hand touch. Like George Kittle, he just runs right into you. Like, oh, where are the tacklers? I'm just going to seek them out. It's like let's try to avoid. There's a balance to this, and I think they have violent offensive players. Debo plays like that. George is one of the more violent ball carriers in the league when he has the football. All their running backs do. I do think there has to be some balance of, hey, guys, when there is an unneeded collision, even for Kittle, let's just go out of bounds, man. It's a hard thing to balance, but it's just you got to think like George, for example. We need you the next 5 years. I know those 3 Lions guys, you might be able to run them all over, but more than likely, one guy, one of these weeks is just going to land weird on you. We've seen it happen time and time again. I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. Like, we all love it. He is a throwback. I bet every 60-year-old former NFL guy who watches the Niners loves that guy. He's like, that guy could have played in 82 with me. These guys are so big and so fast now. We gotta pick our spot. I think Frank Gore, a huge reason why he had a 27-year career, because he picked his spots. He really did. And I think there's an element to that about sustaining your level of play as an offensive player. I think a lot of wide receivers, you watch all these Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, they kind of hit the ground. Tyreek Hill is, I'd say, the master at it. That little Tyreek Hill kind of fall on the ground, and then he doesn't really get tackled, but they kind of just end up on him and he's fine. Like that's called
the greatest show on turf guys did that.
Preserving yourself, guy. Like we're not playing every single snap, some toughness, leveling it out for the entire league. Like, George, you're tough. We know.
Yeah. I mean, Tobin says, I think George has changed in my opinion. I don't. I'm with you, John. I think he still does it.
He did it multiple times yesterday. He's like, I'm coming back for you motherfuckers. You're like, oh my God, George.
Yeah. Well, part of the MO, like, look who they draft. Look who they sign. Look who they want. It's the Yak Bros. It's about yards after catch. That's what That's a big part of this thing, which of course it is. It's hard. Jimmy's strength is not throwing the ball down the field. So a lot of their big plays come after the catch. So that's where it gets hard to pick your spots. Do you tell everybody to dial it back always? Do you only dial it back when you're up 3 scores? Do you tell Debo to chill out a little bit? It's hard because this is part of what makes them great. And they get their explosive plays that way.
Aiyuk still in the band or they boot him out?
It's a great question.
Maybe he's in travel the first concert. We'll see.
I think
how the
like any band, they probably need him. So they're going to get somebody else to play some, lead guitar. Then they'll realize they need Aiyuk. Before we go any further, John, let's also tell some people about our friends DraftKings. So here's the deal. We got a big DraftKings football game. It's in our description. It's in the link below. That gets you to the Haberman Middlecoff League. Get in that and use the code HAM. You want to be in that.
Yep, download it. Promo code HAM. Get in our game this week.
Also, wineaccess.com/ham. Incredible deal going on right now. $50 off any order of $150 or more for a new user. So go to wineaccess.com/ham. Some of the best wine selection on earth.
Yeah. Thank us later.
And here's the little pro tip. You get you don't pay for shipping if you get 6 bottles. So you get 6 bottles, have them cost $150, bang, $50 off.
What's that percent? 33%?
33% is 50 off 150.
Again, thank us by going to wineaccess.com/ham.
A couple of the couple of the comments here. Aiyuk thing is so strange. Yes, it is. Where was my? See, we get a little bit of a new format here. Trying to find a few things. I can't fave comments. I go back.
I got a little morning workout, and I ran into multiple people that obviously come up and just want to talk Niners. And the 2 questions from both. I mean, one guy asked like, "What was the deal with Trey Sermon?" and the other one said, "Where was Brandon Aiyuk?" So I do think both those 2 players, the Kyle Doghouse, is pretty well established. Like it exists. And I think that's pretty, you and I talked about it on the podcast. Like I think coaches get mad at players, but usually with your higher end players, like those guys always play and you don't really know. Like it's pretty obvious with Kyle. It's like, oh yeah, he hates that guy. He's not feeling that guy. Oh yeah, he's not into that guy. Like, oh yeah, he loves this guy. Yeah, he's not big on this guy.
Paul says George screwed up on that onside kick. The only thing that mattered there was that we had 8 and that pushed, and that was that. Yeah,
in fairness to an onside kick, and the overwhelming majority of them are terrible kicks and easy, every once in a while they do get a weird bounce, and that is pretty difficult. Like George's ball skills to me are elite. Like it's tough. Like if the kick is right, good kick, hit your face mask, it can get weird.
All right.
I'm pretty fired up, bro, for this week. I mean, I'm excited. Maybe Tuesday morning, I want to watch the Eagles game. Like I'm glad. I'm not just glad they won. Like
Middlecoff revenge game.
Yeah. I mean, we're friends with those people too. It's just, I think this place is going to be rocking. This is a real test, guy.
It is.
I mean, they have skill
You've been saying
guys
that for a while.
Yeah, because my buddies that are there are like, I don't think we're as bad as everyone thinks we are. But they were not trying to pump their chests out because you just never know because it all comes down to the quarterback. The thing I was told over and over, the lines are good. Their O-line and D-line are legit. And they've just drafted a lot of they just have talent. It's Jalen Reagor. Did I forward you that highlight? Like he scored a touchdown. Like he is, you can nitpick him and he's got some room to grow, but he has talent. Like, he's not like Pettis. Like, the guy can run. And then Devontae is like a made pro. Goddard and Ertz. Jalen threw 3 touchdowns. I mean, now they're secondary. I mean, I think Kyle can expose that. But this is not going to be easy. I saw today, well, I'm sure we'll get into the lines, like it's 3 points. Niners are favored. But I would have said, a month ago, you'd been like probably 6-7 point line for the Niners on the road.
Sirianni.
Yeah.
Marcelo says Mitchell has more thump, actually broke some tackles. He can carry 20 per. I don't think you can ever assume a running back can go 20 per for 17 weeks, 16 weeks. I mean, I think he's really good, but these guys, Kyle's running backs get hurt. So just to finish the thought on Mostert there.
Yeah, I think the one way to keep the running backs healthy is, and you felt it yesterday because George and Debo were dominating. Sherfield made some plays. when you can get plays, the Niners, remember early when they were going 8-0, it's like, I don't know if they got enough firepower. Like, in theory, they should have way more firepower on this team, right? Sanu, Aiyuk out of the doghouse, Debo balling, George in the peak of his powers right now. Like, this is peak George Kittle, right? In all the years we've seen him, like, this is as good as he's ever been. He's going to be these next 2 or 3 years, like, this is his peak. He's elite. So you got to utilize these elite players. And they do have a lot of weapons. And Jimmy.
Yeah, but it didn't feel that way in that game against the Lions. It felt like they had basically Debo and Kittle. That was it. And, Mitchell.
Well, they had self-chose to, bench one guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you watch the game, you wouldn't have said, like, oh, man, this people are talking about, like, the wide receiver combo and Kittle and the running backs. It didn't feel that way. I mean, part of it was they didn't have to be that way. And a big part of it was, no Aiyuk.
Well, I'll tell you this, guy. If we have another game where it's just Debo and Kittle, and we're like, okay, where's 11? We have an official problem on our hands if he's not playing against.
Yes, if it's not a one and done, timeout's over, time to go. Hope
like talked it out in West Virginia. Right. Spent some time with Welker on Tuesday. Him and Kyle had dinner together. He begged, said, "I'll change." Whatever needs to happen. If that doesn't happen this week, I don't know, man.
I'm with you.
We got a problem with the first rounders from 2020.
I am with you. All right, y'all. Good talking on Raheem Mostert. Later.
Peace.